My family said I had too much space, then used a spare key to move into my house, without asking muddy floors, rearranged furniture, and zero respect. After years of helping them financially, this was the final straw. I sat in my car engine still running, staring at the moving truck in my driveway like it was some kind of hallucination. My grip on the steering wheel tightened until the blood drained from my fingers. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. But through the windshield I saw them. My parents, my sister Amanda, her husband Tom, and their 3 kids, unloading box after box into my house. My house. The one I bought after 6 years of non-stop hustle, 80-hour weeks, no vacations, no splurges, just work save sacrifice. And now, in a matter of 2 days, just 2 days away on a business trip, they had decided that this place was theirs. My phone buzzed. A message from Amanda Surprise. "We're upgrading your bachelor pad into a real family home. Don't worry, we left your bedroom alone." For now I felt sick. This exact nightmare was why I had hesitated when buying a 5-bedroom house as a single man. Everyone had questioned my decision. "What do you need all that space for?" they'd asked. My answer was always vague. "It's an investment. I'm thinking long term." But the truth, I was tired of being confined to cramped apartments. Tired of compressing my life, my needs, my peace to make room for others. I wanted space. A place that was fully mine. And now here they were moving in as if it had always been the plan. I pulled into the driveway, parking behind the truck. Through the front window, I could see my mom in the kitchen rearranging things like she owned the place. My dad and Tom were lugging in Amanda's god-awful floral couch, the same one I'd refused to help move 3 separate times over the past couple years. The door was wide open. Amanda's kids were darting in and out, dragging mud across my newly installed hardwood floors. I'd spent weeks choosing those floors. I'd saved up for them, planned for them, made sure they were perfect. Uncle Mark, my oldest niece, squealed, spotting me. "We're moving in. Grandma says you have too much space anyway." I forced a smile, the muscles in my jaw aching from how tight I was clenching it. "Is that so?" Amanda appeared in the doorway, beaming like she'd done me a favor. "Finally, we were wondering when you'd get back. Mom's making dinner. We need help moving the kids' bunk beds upstairs." "Amanda," I said, working hard to keep my voice neutral, "what exactly is going on here?" She rolled her eyes, that same dismissive gesture she'd been perfecting since we were kids. "Oh, don't be dramatic. You know, Tom lost his job and our lease ended. This just made sense. You have all this extra space and family helps family, right? Family helps family. Right. Just like I helped them with the down payment on their last house, one they lost, because Tom dumped everything into some crypto scam. Just like I paid for their kids' private school, because Amanda insisted public school wasn't good enough. Or the car repairs, the groceries, the overdue bills." I walked past her into what used to be my house. Mom was humming while stirring something on my stove. Dad and Tom were mid-argument about where to put the couch, scraping up my hardwood with every inch they pushed it. "Everyone," I said, my voice steady but sharp, "stop what you're doing, right now." Mom looked up, frowning. "Mark, honey, don't shout. The kids are trying to settle in." "Settle in," I laughed, though it came out hollow. "Who exactly gave them permission to settle into my house?" "Don't be selfish." Dad grunted, still shoving the couch. "You've got more space than you need. Your sister's family needs help. What were we supposed to do? Let them live on the street?" I took out my phone and opened my banking app. Let's talk about help then. In the last year alone, I've helped this family with over $50,000. Amanda, would you like to see the itemized list? Her face flushed. "That's different. We're family. You can't what I cut in. Can't expect to live in my own house without being ambushed. Can't expect basic respect. Can't expect you to ask before bulldozing my life." Mom stepped forward, her voice shifting into that guilt-laced tone she used when trying to emotionally corner me. We thought you'd be happy to help. You're always so alone in this big house. I'm alone because I choose to be, I shot back. Because I prefer solitude over chaos. I bought this house with my own money I earned while some people I glanced at. Tom can't hold a job for more than 6 months. Tom puffed up his face, hardening like he might actually try something. Hey, watch your mouth! Or what? I smiled and watched the air deflate out of him. You'll leave, please threaten me with something I want. Right on cue, Amanda started crying. She always had that gift, tears on demand, just enough quiver in her voice to tilt the spotlight her way. I can't believe you're being so cruel. We're your family. Where are we supposed to go? I walked to my office, grabbed a file I had thankfully kept locked, and came back with a stack of papers. If you insist on staying, then let's do this right. Rent is $3,000 per room per month. Due tomorrow. First and last month's deposit up front. That's $15,000 for the 5 rooms you've already claimed, plus a $2,000 security deposit per room. Silence. You're joking, Amanda whispered. Her tears had disappeared like a magic trick. You can't charge your own family rent? Actually, I can. And I am? I laid the contracts on the kitchen counter. These are standard lease agreements. You have 2 options. Sign and pay. Or leave. Now. Dad's face flushed dark red. The kind of red that used to make me tremble as a kid. Listen here, boy. No, you listen. I cut him off again. I've got security cameras in this house. I have footage of all of you breaking in. Using the spare key without permission is still breaking and entering. I also have documentation of every dollar you've borrowed and never paid back. So here's what's going to happen. Sign and pay. Or get out. If you don't, I'm calling the police. Mom started crying for real now, big heaving sobs. How could you do this to us? We're your family. Family? I said the word bitter on my tongue respects boundaries. Family doesn't take advantage and then cry foul when they're held accountable. I opened the Photos app on my phone. Want to see something fun? These are screenshots from Amanda's social media laughing about taking over my house. Texts with friends mocking me for not needing all this space. Planning this for weeks. Amanda's face went ghost white. How did you? I have friends. People who actually respect me. This is ridiculous. Tom finally spoke, his voice tight. We're not paying $3,000 per room. That's insane. Then leave, I said, simply, unfazed. But while you're packing, let's not forget the damage already done. Scratched hardwood, dented walls, scuffed doorframes. That's going to cost about $10,000. So either you pay a security deposit, or I take it out of your dignity. 10,000, Dad sputtered like I'd slapped him. You've lost your damn mind. No, I said, voice calm but absolute. I finally found it. And while I was at it, I found my spine too. You have 1 hour, sign or leave. After that, I call the police. Amanda's lips parted like she wanted to argue, but for the first time in a long time she looked unsure. Maybe it was the cameras. Maybe it was the lease papers. Maybe it was the fact that I wasn't backing down this time. I checked my watch. 59 minutes left. Oh, and tell the kids to stop running in and out. They've tracked mud everywhere. That's going to be another $500 in cleaning fees. Mark? Mom's voice cracked again. Please be reasonable. I am being reasonable. In fact, I'm giving you a discount. Market rate around here is actually $3,500 per room. You're lucky I'm feeling generous. The next 45 minutes were a blend of chaos and denial. Amanda flipped between sobbing and yelling. Tom kept pacing the room, muttering threats he couldn't deliver. Dad turned varying shades of red and purple, pacing and glaring like his stare could force me to comply. And Mom, she cycled through every manipulation tactic in her playbook. Guilt, nostalgia, wounded pride. Nothing worked. I sat calmly at the kitchen counter, sipping my coffee, watching the chaos on my tablet through the security feed. Watching my sister's kids continue to destroy my property as if they weren't the least bit aware of the reality around them. Time ticked down. 5 minutes, then 2. "Time's almost up," I said, without looking up. "What's it going to be?" There was a flurry of hushed whispering. Amanda and Tom and Mom all huddled together in my living room, trying to figure out if I was bluffing. Finally, Amanda approached. Tears streaked down her cheeks. Real ones this time, maybe. "We'll leave," she said. Trying to keep her voice even like this wasn't a defeat, but it'll take time to get everything out. "You have 30 minutes, I said, still not looking up. "Take what's essential and come back tomorrow only if you have my permission." "You can't be serious," Tom exploded. "It took us hours to move all this." "You should have thought about that before breaking into my house," I said, taking another sip of coffee. 29 minutes. What followed was the fastest eviction I've ever seen. Amazing how quickly people move when they're afraid of cops and consequences. They grabbed bags of clothes, toys, personal items, left the furniture for later. Amanda cried as she carried boxes. Tom barked orders at the kids. Mom kept her head down. As the last box was loaded into the truck, Amanda stood in the doorway staring at me. "I hope you're happy," she hissed. "You've just lost your family." I finally looked at her, meeting her glare head on. "No, Amanda. I finally found my self-respect. There's a difference." They left. The moving truck pulled away just as the sky dipped into orange and gold. I closed and locked the door behind them. For a long moment, I just stood there, alone. My house was quiet again, but it wasn't peaceful. Not yet. I walked through the rooms, surveying the damage. Scratched floors, muddy streaks across walls, furniture askew. My heart ached, not just for the ruined floors, but for what it represented. Every boundary crossed, every ounce of trust shattered. My phone buzzed again, a flurry of messages from aunts, uncles, cousins. Amanda had already taken to social media, spinning her tale, the cruel, heartless brother who turned his family out onto the street. The villain, the monster. I didn't bother reading them. Instead, I opened my laptop, uploaded the footage, the screenshots, the text threads outlining Amanda's months-long plan to fix my loneliness by forcefully taking over my home. I attached the financial records too, every loan, every favor, every unacknowledged dollar. Let them try to twist this. Let them. And that, I muttered to myself, is just the beginning. The fallout came quick, faster than I'd imagined. My post blew up in the extended family group chat, hundreds of comments, some full of outrage, others of stunned silence. A few more than I expected offered quiet validation. Michael, my younger cousin, sent a private message that hit like a gut punch. About time someone stood up to them. Amanda tried to move in with us last year after Tom lost another job. Said I was selfish for saying no. Said I didn't understand family. So it wasn't just me. I was making breakfast the next morning when the doorbell rang. I checked the camera feed and saw Mom, alone, clutching her purse like it was the only thing keeping her together. For a second, I considered ignoring her, but something in her posture stopped me. She looked smaller, not the towering, commanding figure I'd grown up with, but a woman who looked broken. I opened the door. Didn't invite her in, just waited. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Just us. No Amanda. No your father. Just me." I hesitated, then stepped aside. "You have 15 minutes. She entered and stopped short in the living room, eyes sweeping over the chaos left behind. The overturned chair, the mud streaks, the damage. I hadn't cleaned anything. I wanted them to see it, really see what they did. "Oh, Mark," she whispered, tears rising to her eyes. "I'm so sorry about all of it. You should be," I said, arms crossed. "You should have stopped them, but you didn't. You never do." She sank onto the edge of the leather chair, the only one not out of place. Her shoulders curled inward like she was trying to make herself smaller. "I read your post," she said. "The screenshots, the planning. I didn't know. I really didn't. Amanda, she has been doing this her whole life," I said. "Taking, expecting, demanding. And you've always enabled her." She looked down, shame flooding her face. "We thought we were helping. You've always been so strong, so independent. We didn't realize that you were taking advantage." I finished for her. She didn't deny it. "I couldn't sleep last night," she said. "I kept thinking about everything. All the times we came to you for help. Amanda's old bank statements." I froze. "What do you mean I found them this morning?" Her voice cracked. She lied. "She and Tom, they're not broke. They've been hiding money, taking vacations, buying designer clothes, and then turning around and begging you for help." I swallowed hard, the confirmation somehow cutting deeper than the suspicion ever had. "And now you see it," I said. "Now you finally believe me." She nodded slowly, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry." I walked to my office and returned with a thick folder. I'd kept it quietly for years, not even sure why, maybe because some part of me had always known this moment would come. I placed it in her hands. "That's every check I've written to help this family in the last 5 years," I said flatly. "Every utility bill I've paid, every car repair, every emergency school payment, every time Amanda cried and I opened my wallet. Over $200,000 itemized." She opened the folder and started flipping through the pages. Her hands trembled. "I had no idea," she whispered, her face drained of color. "No idea it was this much." "Of course you didn't," I said, "because it was never about awareness. It was always about expectation. I was just supposed to help, no matter what it cost me." She didn't argue. Instead, she asked quietly, "What do you want us to do?" I reached into my back pocket and pulled out my phone again, scrolling to the repair estimate I'd received that morning. "First, Amanda and Tom pay for all the damage they caused. That's $12,000, non-negotiable." Her mouth opened in protest, but I raised a hand. "Second, I want a written repayment plan for everything they've taken. I don't expect to get it all back, but I want them to acknowledge it. Put it in writing. Make it real." She nodded slowly, like each condition was sinking a little deeper into her spine. "And third," I continued, meeting her eyes, "I want boundaries, real ones. No more surprise visits, no more guilt trips, no more emotional blackmail wrapped up as family tradition. I'm not your ATM. I'm your son. And I won't be treated like anything less than that." "That's fair," she said softly. "More than fair." "One more thing," I added. "Amanda needs to take down every single post she made about this. No more playing the victim. No more manipulating the narrative to make me look like a monster." She reached for her phone. "I'll call her right now." I interrupted. "I don't want you fixing it for her. She's an adult. She can come to me herself if she wants to make things right." Mom hesitated, then lowered the phone. "She's stubborn." "So am I," replied. "Your 15 minutes are up, Mom. I have work to do." She stood brushing invisible dust off her skirt like it could restore her dignity. "Will you at least think about forgiving us?" I walked her to the door, opened it, but didn't step aside. "Forgiveness is earned," I said. "And so far all I've gotten are excuses." She stepped outside and turned back one last time. Her eyes were wet again, but this time the tears didn't feel manipulative. They felt human. "For what it's worth," she whispered, "I am proud of you. Not just for your success, but for standing up for yourself even if it's against us." I almost smiled. "Almost." "Thanks, Mom," I said. "But remember, actions speak louder than words." I watched her walk to her car and disappear down the street. My phone buzzed again. "Amanda." A new message this time, less theatrical. "Can we talk? Just the two of us?" I stared at it for a moment, then typed a single word, no. I turned off my phone, picked up my toolbox, and started inspecting the floor damage. It was time to rebuild. Not just the house, but everything else I had let them damage over the years. My boundaries, my peace, my identity. 3 weeks passed. Slowly, methodically, my home returned to normal. New hardwood floors, fresh paint on the walls. Professional cleaning took care of the last of the mud trails. But the family fallout was just beginning to spread. I hadn't expected Mom to actually follow through, but to her credit, she did. She sent Amanda and Tom the repair bill, along with a message that stunned me. Pay it, or I'll tell everyone exactly how much money you really have. The payment came 2 days later, accompanied, of course, by a venomous note from Amanda Happy. Now you've turned our own mother against us. I printed it, framed it, hung it in my office next to my degree. What I hadn't expected was the ripple effect. It started with Michael, my cousin. He finally came forward with his story how Amanda had tried to move her kids into his apartment the year before, how she'd spun it to make him look like a heartless miser when he refused. Then Aunt Lisa stepped forward with her own confession. She'd loaned Amanda money for what was supposedly a medical emergency for one of the kids. Amanda had used it for a spa weekend. More and more people came out of the woodwork. Relatives, friends, co-workers. One by one they spoke up. Stories I'd never heard, but that all sounded eerily familiar. Amanda crying, Amanda begging, Amanda manipulating. The pattern had been there for years. We just never talked about it out loud, until now. Then came the Wednesday that changed everything. I was working from home when the doorbell rang again. I checked the camera feed and blinked in disbelief. It was Tom, alone. Hands shoved in his pockets, hair unkempt, shoulders hunched like a man carrying 1,000 silent regrets. I pressed the intercom. "What do you want, just 5 minutes?" he said, running a hand through his thinning hair. "Please, Mark, I need to show you something." I hesitated. Every instinct screamed to shut the door in his face, but curiosity got the better of me. I let him in. He looked different, not just physically. He looked haunted, like someone who'd finally looked in a mirror and didn't like what he saw. "Make it quick," I said, leading him to the kitchen. I didn't offer him a seat. He took out his phone and unlocked it with shaking fingers. "I need you to see these. Amanda doesn't know I'm here." He handed me the phone, and what I saw chilled me to the core. Screenshots, hundreds of them. Private conversations between Amanda and her friends. Threads dating back years, plans, schemes, a system. A calculated, deliberate process of targeting family members based on income savings, emotional weakness. And me, I was their favorite ATM. I scrolled through the screenshots, each one a punch to the gut. They weren't just mocking me, they were strategizing. Amanda had lists, prioritized targets, detailed conversations about which family members had money, which ones were too guilt-ridden to say no, and which ones could be emotionally manipulated with the right sob story. And at the top of every list, every single time, was my name. I finally looked up. "Why are you showing me this?" Tom looked down, shame radiating off him like heat. "Because I can't do this anymore. The lying, the pretending, the guilt. Do you know she's been hiding money, even from me? I found a separate account last week. She's been stashing funds for years." "All those times you came to me," I said slowly. "The job losses, the emergencies." He nodded, barely able to meet my eyes. Some were real, others. Amanda figured it was easier to ask for help if I wasn't working, if we looked desperate. She called it leverage. I called it surviving. But now I don't even know who I've become. I stared at him, my silence deliberate. I didn't want to offer comfort. I didn't want to make it easier for him to feel better about the years he stood silently at Amanda's side while she bled me dry. I should hate you, I said after a long pause. I know, he replied, voice thin. And I wouldn't blame you. I exhaled, my hands resting flat on the counter. Why now, Tom? Why come clean after all these years? He hesitated, then reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I saw the kids' Christmas list, he said. This year's. I thought you should see who it's addressed to. I opened the paper. The list wasn't for Santa. It was for me. Uncle Mark was written in uneven, colorful letters at the top. Item after item followed: expensive electronics, gaming consoles, a laptop. But what struck me wasn't the gifts. It was the notes next to them, scribbled in Amanda's handwriting: cry extra hard. Say you're sad. Tell him you're starving. I went still. They're 9, 7, and 5? Tom said quietly. And she's teaching them to manipulate. She's rehearsing the tears with them. I caught our oldest practicing in the mirror last week. My stomach turned. It was one thing to be used, to be taken for granted, but teaching children, your own children, to lie, to fake need, to see kindness as a weakness, to exploit. That was a new level of cruelty. I want out, Tom continued. I've already talked to a lawyer. I'm filing for divorce. I blinked. I hadn't expected that. You're serious, he nodded. Your stand, it woke me up. I used to have dreams, Mark. I wanted to start a small business. I had plans. But Amanda always said, why bother, just ask Mark. And I let her. I let her tell the kids the same thing. His voice broke. I let them believe it was normal to lie to someone who loved them. I sat down slowly, not out of fatigue, but to stop myself from physically shaking. There was anger in me, yes, but deeper than that, grief. For what had been lost, for what those kids had never had a chance to learn, for how far Amanda had pulled all of us from decency. Does Amanda know you're here? No. She's too busy scheming her way back into your good graces. She's got some new plan to guilt trip you, probably involving the kids again. I looked at the list again, the childish drawings, the manipulatively crafted lies. My name written like a wish, or a target. What do you want from me? Nothing, he said quickly. Well, maybe one thing. When I file for custody, will you be a witness? These screenshots, the lists, the crying rehearsals, they're evidence. I want full custody. I want to break the cycle. I sat there staring at him, thinking of those kids, what they were learning, what they were becoming. I'll help, I said quietly, but not for you, for them. Tom exhaled the kind of breath someone releases after holding it for years. Thank you. And Mark, I'm sorry. For everything. He left and I was alone again, but not in the way I used to feel alone. This time the silence felt intentional, protective. I spent the rest of the evening reviewing the files Tom sent over. Screenshots, videos, a voice memo of Amanda coaching her daughter on how to cry convincingly. Each file made my stomach turn. Then another buzz. Amanda again. The kids miss you. They cry every night. Why don't you love them anymore? How can you be so cruel? I stared at the message, and then I picked up the Christmas list again. Cry extra hard. Tell him we're starving. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Then I typed back 2 words, game over. Her reply was instant. What are you talking about? I didn't answer. I just began forwarding screenshots. One by one. Every text. Every conversation. Every damning receipt. I sent them to Amanda, then to my parents, then to every single family member she had ever lied to, manipulated, borrowed from, or guilt-tripped. The final thing I sent was a photo of the Christmas list. Then I blocked her number. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for family is stop them, even if it means being the villain in their story, even if it means burning the bridge so thoroughly there's no way back. That night I called Mom. You need to come over, I said. There's something you need to see. She came the next morning. Quiet, pale. No purse armor this time, just herself. I showed her everything, all the files, all the lists, all the messages. And something inside her broke. I saw it. I heard it. I did this, she whispered, her eyes vacant. I created this. I taught her this was okay by never saying no, by always making excuses, by protecting her. Then Dad came. Mom had called him. He stood in the doorway like he had aged 10 years overnight. He looked through the files, shaking his head. My grandchildren, he murmured. She's teaching them to be exactly like her. I finished quietly. The next few days were a blur of meetings, phone calls, and legal prep. Tom filed for divorce, filed for custody. Amanda lost her mind. She came to my house at midnight, pounding on the door, screaming about betrayal. I didn't open the door. I didn't speak. Instead, I showed the footage to the children's doctor the next day. More evidence. But the real surprise came at the emergency family meeting a week later. Mom and Dad had finally reached their limit. We're selling the house, Dad announced to the room. Amanda wasn't invited. Our retirement fund is gone. We kept bailing her out. We can't do it anymore. I looked at them both. For once, they looked tired. But also clear. How bad is it? I asked. Mom pulled out their financial records. Years of loans, maxed out credit cards, savings depleted. They were drowning, and Amanda was the anchor around their ankles. Let me see the numbers, I said. They handed them over. It was ugly, but not hopeless. I'll help, I said, finally. But only under conditions. Dad started to protest, but Mom placed a hand on his arm. Name them. First, I said, spreading the documents across the table, you get professional financial counseling. Not advice from a friend, not Google. Real licensed counseling with someone I choose. Mom nodded. Okay. Second, I continued, you downsize. Not because you have no choice, but because it's time to live within your means. No more pretending. No more chasing a lifestyle you can't afford. That makes sense, Mom said softly. Third, and most importantly, you cut Amanda off completely. Dad flinched. She's still our daughter. Yes, I replied. And that's why it's even more important. Because if you keep enabling her, you're not loving her, you're ruining her. You've already started to see it. Just look at what she's doing to her children. Is that really the legacy you want? The room went silent. I'll buy your house, I added. Fair market value. You can use the money to clear your debts and buy something smaller, but only if you agree to all 3 conditions. This isn't charity. It's a transaction. With contracts, with terms, with consequences. Dad looked like he wanted to argue, but he didn't. Instead, he gave a tired sigh and nodded. We agree, Mom said. We have to. 2 months later, they moved into a modest condo across town. No lawn to mow, no mortgage, no illusions, just peace. Their debts were cleared, their phones quiet. For the first time in decades, they weren't living in fear of Amanda's next crisis. Tom got full custody. The court saw what we all had: the manipulation, the deception, the toxic influence Amanda had over the kids. The Christmas list sealed it. Amanda was granted supervised visitation only. She was furious, of course. Last I heard, she was living with Aunt Sarah, who still clung to the idea that Amanda was just misunderstood. Amanda's version of the story continued to evolve. Sometimes I was the evil brother who stole her children. Other times I was a cold-hearted monster who manipulated everyone against her. It didn't matter. Fewer people were listening now. The truth had been aired out like a rotting wound, and healing, slow and painful, had begun. The kids, my nieces and nephew, started therapy. Real therapy this time. Not the made-up kind Amanda had used to milk sympathy or justify her demands. Tom enrolled them in public school, got a steady job, took them camping, taught them how to fix things around the house. He showed up, consistently, quietly, humbly. One weekend they came to visit. It had been months since I'd seen them. My youngest niece, Sarah, ran to me and wrapped her arms around my waist. "I'm sorry I tried to trick you, Uncle Mark," she whispered, barely audible. "Dad says that's not what family does." I knelt down to her level, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "No, sweetheart, it's not." Later that night, after they'd gone home, I found a folded piece of paper left on my kitchen counter. A new Christmas list, written in careful, childlike handwriting. "Dear Uncle Mark, I don't mean presents. I just want you to be my uncle again, for real this time. Love, Sarah." I read it once, then twice, and then I pinned it to the corkboard in my office, right next to Amanda's angry, bitter note. Two lists, two different legacies, two ways to define family, one built on guilt and control, the other on honesty and repair. My house is quiet now, sometimes too quiet, but it's mine, fully, finally, and without apology. No more footsteps pounding through hallways uninvited. No more voices demanding space, demanding attention, demanding help I could no longer give. Mom and Dad come over for dinner now once a week. We don't talk about Amanda, not much. But we do talk about boundaries, about rebuilding, about accountability. They've changed. Humbled, yes, but also softer, gentler. They no longer expect me to fix everything. They just show up, with a bottle of wine, with a story, with a thank you. It's strange how unfamiliar gratitude can feel when you haven't seen it in years. But I'm learning, slowly, that boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges with gates, and gates aren't always closed, but they are mine to open, or close. Amanda still tries sometimes, a message here, a tagged photo there, always testing, always probing. But I don't answer. Not because I'm angry, but because I'm done. She lost the right to step into my life the moment she taught her kids to cry for gifts instead of ask for love. The moment she saw my kindness as a weakness to be used rather than a bond to be nurtured. And even now, I wonder if she'll ever really understand what she lost. Because the truth is, I didn't destroy this family. I just refused to carry it alone anymore. That's not cruelty. That's survival. And sometimes it's also love. Hard, honest, grown-up love. The kind that says enough. The kind that says no more. The kind that finally says, I deserve better. And this time I said it loud enough for everyone to hear.